Oh, Elton John, your song here on BBC Radio Leicester. So, paper review time. We've just got one special guest today, Katie Neves. Good morning to you.
Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to have you in. Now, I was saying to you, how do you want me to introduce you? Because you've got so many titles. What would you like? How would you like to be known, Katie? I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, well, I'm a trans ambassador, and my business there is called Cool to be Trans, and I'm also a photographer and filmmaker, and my business is called Martin Neves Photography and Film.
There you go. You've got it all covered there. So you have picked up some amazing stories from the papers today. Let's start with this one, because this has caught my eye. The school uniform row that's been going on. Now, explain where it's all come from and why people are upset about this.
Okay, basically, I mean, this sort of thing has rumbled on for years, because you often get protests with boys turning up to school in skirts just as a protest, especially in the summer, because they're being told they have to wear long trousers and stuff. But this one has come up. This is a school in Sussex. And basically, they've just introduced what the head teacher calls a gender-neutral uniform policy. But it's not actually a gender-neutral policy. They're just making everyone wear the boys' uniform, because basically they're just saying everyone has to wear a shirt or top and trousers.
Right.
So basically what they've actually done is just they've removed the skirt option. And it's ridiculous, because it's got a lot of the parents up in arms, because they've all had to fork out for new uniforms.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
And it's not. And it's crazy, really, because what they've actually done, and they're saying that they've done it to cater for their trans pupils, and also that I think they had an issue with some of the girls were pushing it too much by having shorter and shorter skirts, as they tend to.
As they do. I must remember those days, rolling the skirt up a bit too much.
I think it's probably got more to do with that, really. But I think they were using the trans issue. But I've got very strong feelings about this, that actually what they've actually done is discriminated against the girls and the trans girls in the school, because who would actually feel more comfortable wearing the skirts. So what they would have been better off doing would be just to say, keep the existing uniform, but just have it open to anyone, so that either boys or girls, they can wear whatever parts of those uniforms they want to. So if the boys want to wear skirts, then so be it. But there's this stigma still about boys wearing skirts, and yet there's no stigma about girls wearing trousers. But why should there be a stigma about boys wearing skirts? Clothes don't have a gender.
Yeah. So I guess the school, it must have come from a place of good intentions. It must have. You would have thought they would have spoken to someone about this.
You would hope so.
Before they made that decision.
You would hope so, but it doesn't look as if they have.
You don't think so?
Well, I've spoken to quite a few of my trans friends, and they've all said exactly the same. They're making hard work of this. It'd be so simple for them to say, look, just open it up. Anyone can wear anything from this selection.
Yeah.
Simple. It's not
Simple.
It's not difficult. We sorted that one, Joe.
There we are. That one's done. So we can look. Brexit next. No.
I wasn't going to mention that.
No.
I was going to say it's been a quiet week for news this week, isn't it?
I think we'll just go round that one and park it at the side. This I love. Well, I don't love, but bugs on windscreens are causing all sorts of problems. I hate it this time of year. If you're driving in the dark, all sorts of things come and squish on your windscreen, don't they? But it's bigger problems than just for us driving the cars, isn't it?
It is, yeah. This is a story I saw in today's Sunday Telegraph. Bugs on windscreen are curbing self-driving cars. So there's a lot of research going into autonomous vehicles at the moment, and I've actually photographed quite a lot of them with my photography business. University of Warwick are doing quite a lot of work with that sort of thing, and it's amazing technology, and it relies on having to map out the areas they're going to, and lots of other technology and lots of sensors that go into it. And of course, there's lots of variables that happen, and one of the biggest variables is obviously people, because when you're mixing autonomous vehicles with people, obviously people are unpredictable. In fact, I actually nearly had an accident on the way to here this morning. Somebody pulled out and nearly hit me, and think, so autonomous vehicles have got to deal with all of that. But they've got one more thing now. They've got these bugs that are coming on the windscreen, and of course they're obscuring the sensors. So they're now having to develop the little windscreen wipers and washers just for the sensors now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so the whole thing gets more complicated, and you think there's all these risks involved.
So it's not the fact that the sensors are seeing the bugs coming towards them and freaking out, so to speak.
I think it's that they're obscuring the sensors.
They're blocking them out.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting though, isn't it?
Oh, that's a bit of a worry.
It is, but I mean, one day, but that's probably all there will be. But
how do you feel about that? Driverless cars, and do you feel safe with all that?
I don't know. I've got two minds about it. I think from one point of view, I think it would be good. I think it'd be great for, I think particularly the elderly and people who are unable to drive. I think it would be great for them. On the other hand, I enjoy driving. I do like driving, and I don't really want that taken away from me. So, I'm in two minds about it, really.
Just need a bit of convincing.
I do. Jury's out still.
Let's move on to another form of transport. Now, this actually blows my mind slightly. Emotional support animals are now allowed on flights. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is a story that I saw on the BBC News website. Basically, emotional support animals have been allowed on flights in the US.
What's an emotional support animal?
Well, it's different to a service animal such as a guide dog or a hearing dog or whatever. It's basically if for people who need some emotional support, and they can bring a pet along with them who help them to get over that. And in the States, apparently for quite some time they've allowed that, but the passengers are starting to push the boundaries a bit, and they've had the emotional support animals allowed on flights.
Okay, let's go.
Right, here we go. We've had a kangaroo.
What? What, an actual full-sized kangaroo?
I don't know. It just says a kangaroo here.
That's terrifying.
And a turkey. And even a miniature horse called Flirty.
Oh my goodness! Hang on, I need to go back to this kangaroo. Kangaroos are enormous.
Well, they are, aren't
and
they?
dangerous.
Well, they are, aren't they? I mean,
Who
they're
let the
huge.
kangaroo on?
Yeah, I don't know.
And who chose a kangaroo as a support animal?
Well, I really don't know. But apparently, there's one animal that was turned down, and that was a peacock.
Well, they do take up a lot of space with their tail.
But it does make you wonder where where they're going to draw the line. Are they going to allow elephants on there? I mean, I suppose you'd have to have a jumbo jet for that one, wouldn't you?
What do you think, Katie? What would be your emotional support animal if you needed one?
Oh, good grief! I would say my cat, but he's a bit neurotic, so it probably wouldn't be him, actually. I think it would have to be a dog. I mean, dogs are always great. They give unconditional love, don't they? So, a bit of a boring answer, that one, wasn't it?
No, it's not. I'd probably go down the dog route as well.
Yeah.
Everything else would be a bit of a gamble,
Yeah.
really. I hate flying. I'm not really sure I'd inflict that on...
Really?
On I get terrible ear pains and stuff like that. So I don't know. What would it be like for a little animal on a plane?
It also begs the question: where do they go? Because there's such little room on flights that do you have to book an extra seat or an extra 2 seats for them, or where do they go?
And where do they go?
Well,
where do they go?
I was just thinking with this miniature horse. I mean, do they go on with a shovel?
Well, you say that, but we did have a miniature horse in the studio at Christmas, and it had like a little nappy situation.
Ah, right. Well, there you go. You've answered my question.
Maybe that is the answer. Tell you what, while we ponder that and think about that peacock situation, let's have some music. Yeah. It's 10 minutes to 8. We are looking through the papers with my guest this morning, Katie Neves. Katie, you've picked some corkers out of the papers. I'm really loving them today. Now, this is one, a good old-fashioned love story, or maybe not.
Yes, yeah. This is a story that I saw in the Sun. So it's a desperate CEO who offered £8,000 to anyone who could find him a girlfriend is now engaged after making his new partner take a series of tests. And these have been cognitive tests, maths tests, language tests. Apparently she passed them with flying colours.
Oh, it's like a job interview, that.
Well, it is. It's very clinical, isn't it?
Yeah.
But apparently he was just so desperate. But it's funny, he didn't have to pay out the £8,000 to anyone to find him, because apparently he found her on Facebook, apparently, as one of the suggested people who he should befriend.
Yeah.
And he befriended her and got to know her and
then said, I really like you, but before we go out,
can you
do the sum for me?
And she said yes. Yeah, I mean, but apparently now they're engaged, and so he used the £8,000 to buy her a ring.
Well, so he should. I find that so offensive.
It is.
Don't you?
It's awful. It's awful.
If someone asks you to do a test before they deem to go out with you.
But he's obviously in the business mindset and treating everything in his life as that's how he deals with his life, isn't it? But,
and I'm let down by her, to be honest. I would have thought that she would, stand up to him a bit on that.
She should have made him take some tests, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then she said, "You failed."
You failed. You're out of here. I don't know. Maybe No, I don't want to cast aspersions on what
I know
she
what
was
you're
after.
I know
but,
what
you
you're
know,
thinking. Yeah.
How did he phrase that one to her as well?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. But
People are strange.
They
Aren't
are. They certainly are. They certainly are.
So he has found happiness through his IQ tests and maths. Do you know, if someone asked me to do a maths test now, it would be awful. I
Yeah,
would fail so badly.
I know. It's funny. You when you're at school, you get good at doing all these things, but then as you go on, you sort of forget all that stuff, don't you?
I can't even help my kids with their primary school homework. I get it all wrong.
Snap.
I know, it's really stressful.
I know.
And the teacher,
The pressure is terrible, isn't it?
the teacher at my kids' school has now put this policy of the parents have to mark the homework.
Oh, right.
Interesting. I know,
Right.
don't get me started.
Okay.
But I can't do it. I'm like, that sounds right. Yes, that's good.
Right. It's yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave that behind.
Yes.
Happiness. It's not all about money, or maybe it is a little bit.
Yeah. There's a story in the Express that happiness is being richer than your peers. It says you don't have to have a lot of money to be happy, as long as you have more than the people around you. So this is actually a study done of 160,000 adults. Found that being rich is no guarantee of contentment, but being richer than your peers gives you a good crack at it. And this was done by the Warwick Business School. But it's really interesting that it's not actually about the actual numbers, but where you sit amongst your peers. You know, are you the top earner amongst your peers? Are you the fifth top earner amongst? Are you the poorest one? Yeah,
wow.
and then as you sort of move down that scale, you can get more depressed with it. But
what does that say about us?
But happiness, certainly as I found, isn't. I used to be very money driven and money orientated, but certainly with the journey that I've been on recently, I've just realised that there's a lot more to life than that, and I've got less money now, but I'm so much happier, and I think people should think more about that, I think, than actual money.
Yeah, maybe it's the thought that money will make you happier.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not. Do you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember Harry Enfield in Chums? And in that, we are considerably richer than Yao. Yeah, that's the one.
That's right.
That's what it reminds me of. Right. How do we approach this one, Katie? There's a cafe that is called Fanny's Cafe, is that right? Fanny's
You're
Cafe?
afraid to say it, Jo, aren't you?
No, I'm going to say it. Fanny's Cafe. But there's something on their menu that's got them in a bit of bother.
Yes, an advert for faggots at a cafe called Fanny's was axed by Google as it was deemed offensive. Joanne Pring, age 63, was promoting the meal of offal meatballs with peas and gravy at a diner. But the post was taken down from the social media as it breached its inappropriate and offensive content policy.
Well, there you go.
What's to be said about
There's not much to be said about that. I think we'll probably just skip over that. But what paper's that in?
That was The Sun.
The Sun.
You can always rely on The Sun to pick out these stories.
Go and seek that one out if you really want to. Finally then, before we wrap things up, is something from one of the locals.
Yeah, I wanted to finish on a local one. This was in the Hinckley Times. This was a picture-led story about the Desford Scarecrow Festival, and there were loads of great pictures there with some fantastic scarecrows that were made. And I just think these scarecrows festivals are brilliant. I live in Stony Stanton, and we have one there every year, and it's coming up fairly soon. And it's a fantastic event. The effort that people go to making some brilliant things, and the sense of humour that they put into it, fantastic. And what's more, it gets the whole village out, and everybody's out walking, and they're all talking to their neighbours and other people, and it's such a great thing for the community. I think, I'm so pleased that these things have taken off.
They are
wonderful.
brilliant. I went to the Desford Scarecrow Festival with the kids, and they are so good. They were like 140 something.
Yeah.
But the problem is, it got my kids then going, we can make a scarecrow, can't we?
That is the problem. Yeah, my daughter was saying the same thing, and I was thinking, should I do one? Should I make one of me as I used to be as Martin here before my transition? I could sort of put them in some of my old clothes and put a sign underneath saying, just for old time's sake.
Well, I think that would definitely get the attention of Stony Stanton there.
Probably would.
Yeah, my daughter said, I know we can make one. We'll make Ariana Grande.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah, I'm just scarecrow with a ponytail, I think is basically where I'm going with that one.
I know.
Listen, Katie, I've had such a lovely time.
It's been great.
Thank you so much for
Oh, you're
coming in this
welcome.
morning. Have a fantastic Sunday, why don't
And
you?
you. Thank you.